win it! Wow!
Oh, man, Embiid just posterized Russell Westbrook.
You love the Philadelphia Eagles. Let me get a hell yeah!
This is Party on Broad. The Philadelphia Eagles defeated the Jacksonville Jaguars 24-10. This is our reaction pod. What's up, Victor? How you doing, man?
What's going on, guys? Happy to be back on another episode of Party on Broad. Not as exciting as last week, but hopefully we can skate by with some of the points we have today.
I made a tweet earlier, like, please, football Jesus, don't give us like 3/4 of Clayton Thorson. And sure enough, it happened.
We got four.
We got four.
3 and change.
They were
3 3/4.
puppet masters today, man. Make sure you follow Victor on Twitter at the Philly Pod. Next, we have Jack. Follow him on Twitter at Jack Connell TPL. What's going on, Jack?
Nothing much. Just glad to be here in my second appearance here. It's ready to get going. Talk about this electrifying game we just had.
Oh God.
Lastly, we got Ben Dunst, BP Dunst on Twitter. How you doing, Ben?
What's up, Chris? How you doing?
I'm good, man. It's good to see you again. We haven't been on a video pod or audio pod in a while. What's new?
What's new? Nothing. Moving out of this place in 3 days. So that's been where most of the time is going. You can't see, but there's boxes literally in every direction from me. So soon they'll be going out.
Trying to get that security deposit.
Right. Yep. Let me get that money back. I tell you that much.
All right, so we suffered through the second preseason game of the Eagles preseason. The Eagles got the dub, but let's go through our top standouts of the game. I'll start us off. I'm going to go with Miles Sanders. Miles Sanders had 5 carries for 31 yards. He had an impressive blitz pickup today. That was the one thing I wanted to see during this game. I wanted to see him in the backfield catching some passes, and I wanted to see him picking up some blitzes. We got to see that on a Clayton Thorson touchdown pass. He had one play where it only went for 3 yards, but it was a nice cut, very Shady-esque. But Miles Sanders was one of my standouts. Vic, what was standout for you, dude?
Yeah, you stole mine because that's the only one I had. I'm trying to think now. I guess we can say Agadosi with the touchdown. So he had that score. It looks like it's going to be between him and Greg Ward. I think at this point they might beat out Mac Hollins, which is concerning for Mac Hollins' sake. But I think Agadosi was impressive in that touchdown. Clayton Thorson somehow managed to get the ball to him some type of way. So good on Agadosi to get in the end zone today.
I loved how they this was part of my takeaway, but I'm going to do it now because it was a good segue. Did you hear the commentators talking about Agadosi's hands? They were talking about his giant hands during the game, and I'm like, you don't have anymore.
Was it reminiscent of Doris Burke and Kawhi's hands?
That's what I thought. I thought it was funny that you went right to Boban's giant hands and not Doris Burke's bit, I guess, on Kawhi's massive hands during the playoff series.
That was horrible. I was cringed during that whole playoff series.
He has huge hands, though.
Huge hands.
I mean, they are huge. You don't need to hear about
I get it. I don't mind. I
Oh.
can hear about it.
Okay, well, you're alone on that one.
I'll take it. Me and Doris chilling.
It's gonna be just the ultimate.
Do you have a standout for today's game?
For me, I gotta go straight to Deshaun Hall. Just in terms of we all live the process. We all like the guys who are coming in and fighting to not get cut. Some of the other guys we know are going to be on the team. Like Miles Sanders isn't going anywhere. I like a guy that's really forcing the team to have to make a decision. I think Deshaun Hall's doing that. I came away with 4 tackles, 2 sacks. There was a couple more that he really came close to. There was a sequence where I think it was 4 or 5 plays where he was right up around the end every single play, and then he ended it with a horrible false start. And it was just Deshaun Hall. And then
2 forced fumbles.
Bad Deshaun Hall, but all over it. Killing every preseason game, he's showing up, showing out. I'm starting to think that he makes it. He might even play a little bit, if that's crazy to say. Really great from him in terms of the guys who, I didn't really know who they were. Now I know who he is. That's a good sign, right? So my standout.
Last week we started the Paul Turner Award, and we're going to kind of run with that week to week. but he's got to be the forefront. He's got to be the winner right now for the Paul Turner Award in terms of a guy that came from zero to hero, and he's like you said, Ben. He's
well on his way.
He's definitely on his way to make that 53-man roster. Jack, what was your standout for today?
I'm going to piggyback on Ben, but I've got 3. I'm just going to go with the defensive ends in general. Josh Sweat, Deshaun Hall, and Sharif Miller. They all were proven, getting off the edge, working their hands, using their speed, using their size, showing they can be that next young, good group of defensive ends to rotate in, help out the older guys. I think they can all potentially make an impact this year, so I'm going to have to go with those guys.
Sharif Miller was a really good one. He kind of had a tough training camp so far. This was his coming out party. I think he had 2 sacks today. And I'll go with one more. I'm going to go with Clayton Thorson.
I was going to do it too.
I have to. This guy.
No, you don't have to. You don't have to do anything.
He played a nice game.
Come on.
Come on. He started out horrible.
What was the stat line? I don't even know. What was the stat line?
It was like 174 yards passing.
Yeah.
175 passing, 1 touchdown, 1 interception, 16 for 26.
16 and 26? All right, that's not awful.
It wasn't awful.
It wasn't.
And especially when you consider that first quarter, he
started shaky. Yeah.
It was nothing. So some of those 10 misses, and then also there was a couple plays where the receivers let him, he threw really nice balls, and the receivers let him down. There were 2 really in quick succession. I don't remember if they were back to back, but 2 before that really nice completion that he just got kind of left in the dirt. There's one went off his collarbone and down. It's a 35-yard pass bumping off his chest. You got to come down with it. I thought he was pretty good.
He overthrew Ward, and Agadosi happened to catch it.
Hey, man, you can calculate.
He was not throwing to Agadosi at all. He was throwing to Ward, and Agadosi just happened to be there.
Hey, man.
When I
better lucky than good.
When I gave him a screenshot, he went from god awful to just
terrible,
not great,
just right around that terrible tier.
Terrible.
Absolutely. Just think about how horribly we thought that was going to go.
Yeah.
When we saw Kessler walk off, and we were like, oh no.
Kessler's not even good in his own right. So I should tell you.
And they weren't even scoring on short fields. They were moving. They were getting first downs, 2 for 2 on 4th down, right?
Yeah.
I don't know if there was a 4th down near the end, but it was there. It was there. I was very happy. I would absolutely lose my mind.
I think we'll tie.
I would be so mad if he touched the field during the season, unless it's the last game of the year and we're locked in our spot. I don't want to see him at all. But to his defense, he definitely overperformed expectations by a bonkers degree. I thought it was going to be 1 for 21.
That's what I was waiting for.
Oh man.
Yeah. There was a point in that, second, third quarter when he definitely looked comfortable in the pocket, and he was stepping up. He was making throws. He was, there was a blitz. He would make a read. There was definitely a time. I'm not saying this is a good quarterback by any means. This is not a guy that you want on the roster from regular season. But I gotta give credit. We dogged him during the last
first quarter of the game.
I'm a dog. Okay.
Let me say though, I will say, because moving on this, I think part of it is you have to give credit to the O-line too. He had a lot of those passes that he threw that were pretty nice. He had a lot of time to hold them up, and a lot of them were not even second stringers. So the young offensive line crew also deserve to kind of be shouted out.
Yeah, everybody but Dillard got Kessler blown up on that play.
Dillard got Kessler murdered on that play. Yeah,
literally.
Andre Dillard had his easily worst game in 2 games.
Well, 2 games, and the other one he was pretty damn good.
Throwing hands in practice. That's where I get to.
What was your take on Andre Dillard, Jack? Go ahead.
I just think he's a young guy. He's got to work on his mistakes. He just can't overthink it. He just got to get in front of him, just stay square, keep his feet working.
We thought about it too much.
Yeah, he thought about standing still.
As a player, I know sometimes as a tackle, those pass protections can get confusing if you don't know your responsibility. If the running back, we talked about Miles Sanders picking up the blitzing. Sometimes they have the tackles, depending on if there's a blitz or not. Maybe there's a confusion. I didn't get to see the initial start of the game, so I didn't see the hit, so I didn't know what the coverage and everything was there. So, but
it was. It was that one was right at the beginning of the first quarter, and he just
right in the vertebrae.
didn't do a thing. They just walked right past him.
My first reaction when that happened was like, "Holy shit!" Could you imagine if Carson Wentz actually played this game?
And just took that hit.
Yeah, I didn't even think of that. Ooh,
it was a bad hit.
And next week you got Baltimore. Baltimore's first play, they had something. They rocked whoever they played. That quarterback even worse. Knocked his helmet off.
Yeah, I remember when Terrell Suggs tried to take Bradford out in preseason a few years ago, and everybody was screaming about that.
Yeah, I don't need to see Carson next week. Give me more Clayton. Also,
Clayton all day.
Let's get into our takeaways, but to lead off, does Carson Wentz play against the Baltimore Ravens? Jack, go.
Hell no.
Hell no.
Hell no.
Hell no.
Nope.
All right, we're all in agreement. No Carson. Let's get into our top takeaways from today's game. My number one takeaway was I saw the flashes that I wanted to see from Jordan Howard and Miles Sanders. The Eagles had 139 rushes today, or 139 yards today on 4.2 carries, 2 touchdowns. But they showed me the flashes I wanted to see. I really want to see a dynamic duo in the backfield for the Birds. That's something huge, especially if Carson Wentz does not play this preseason. Getting the running game going early on, led by Jordan Howard, finished off by Miles Sanders.
Led by Miles Sanders is what it's going to be.
What were some of your top takeaways? Go ahead, Jack.
I mean, defense looked better last week. Secondary definitely picked it up a lot. It felt like, I mean, just from what I saw, I mean, they were getting there on the deep routes, getting it covered. Just last week, it felt like they were a little slow to get to the ball, not breaking up passes. I mean, it may have been a different story the first half when I didn't catch it, but I mean, from what I saw, they were getting there and getting stopped. So I mean, secondary definitely picked it up a bit.
Awesome. Go ahead, Ben.
So besides what was already said, because the running back core is definitely like the major takeaway of this game, I think, is that because they looked, I mean, pretty much everybody who ran the ball to varying degrees looked competent and looked like, you know, they can come in and work. But I'd also say, like, I think we're in pretty good hands, like in our receiving. Like, I think there's a lot of options here. And I know, you know, a lot of these guys are going to get cut, but some pretty good hands were on. I mean, Mark and Michelle showed up a little bit. Greg Ward had some hands. I know we've been talking about Greg Ward for like since the dawn of time. But like Arcega-Whiteside, I really am liking his athleticism. He reminds me a lot of like Alshon. I think he can learn a lot from it. Like I think because we have such a strong like veteran core of receivers, I think whoever makes it onto the team is going to look good in their limited show. You know, the few snaps they get when they get them. I think they're going to be able to turn them into something, whether they end up, you know, long-term Eagles or if they just do okay for a year and we try to move them for a late pick or something. Like, I think the kids we got are going to be useful or worth something.
Right on. Go ahead.
And it was nice to see Matt Collins back.
I know. Good call.
What do you do?
Return to the Mac.
What about
he'd like
wait, Vic?
All right, so obviously, like the running backs, like everybody else said, Miles Sanders had that one standout 16-yard run where he basically drug everybody with him. So that was good to see. The running backs will definitely be exciting. Boston Scott got into the end zone at the end. We'll never see him again, but he got there. So me and Ben, Chris got on you about this, but Sidney Jones got burnt like twice. Like I don't care what you gotta say. I don't care what you say, Chris. I don't care if it looked bad, looked good. Like he got.
And he got bailed out on that first.
So wait, Chris, real quick. Like your takeaway is Sidney Jones, and I don't want to hear like, oh, like it wasn't bad. Like that shit was bad.
So when I'm for Blue Root, like I take videos. So okay. When I'm like fast forwarding to catch up to the game, I miss a couple plays here and there. I think that's what happened. I think I missed a couple Sidney.
Oh, you didn't see the play where he flat out got beat? Okay, well when you see that play, let me
got murdered.
Where he got beat and the receiver was out of bounds, right?
Yeah.
He got
the very next play, he got beat on a slant. So
I missed out.
So
he got toasted.
Well, obviously, we're not going to write off Sidney. Like, of course,
for sure. Yeah.
Like, I'm not saying like Sidney's trash. I'm just saying he got beat.
Quick things on those running backs though, real quick. Number one, that Miles Sanders, I think that he just stood up. You know, he had somebody coming in full sprint. And he
touchdown catch. Yep.
Yeah. Yep. Oh, no, not on the touchdown. On in the third quarter. I don't know. There was another one where
the linebacker. I know.
Maybe it was Josh Adams.
Maybe it was. I don't know. By the time the third quarter rolled around, everybody started looking the same.
Oh,
But there was the other one. Oh, I lost what I was thinking about with our
Josh
running
Adams
back.
had a nice little catch and run. You know, he won't be here either, but it's a matter. One other takeaway. Malcolm. Real quick before Ben goes. I don't know why Malcolm Jenkins was playing in the game, but he had a nice tackle in the backfield. So yeah, that of course Malcolm Jenkins looks like he'll be good. As he should look, pretty damn good in preseason playing against those guys. So I don't know why he played, but he was in there and he made a nice play in the backfield. So.
He looked like prime Brian Dawkins in that one defensive series that he played.
Towing that line there, comparisons.
He was all over
hot taking tonight, man. What's going on with him?
Pause. The other thing I wanted to add was I just wanted to ask you, this has to be the end of Wendell Smallwood, right?
I hope so. I sure as hell hope so.
They gave him. He only got 3 carries, but in that first half, they were giving him real shots to really do something, and there was nothing there. Nothing there at all. He got 3 yards on 3 carries.
They have. I mean, even with all the running backs they have, even if he did halfway decent, there's no way they keep all 6 or 7 of them.
So
he's fighting with Boston Scott and Josh Adams for the 4th or 5th running back spot.
I'm
four stuck here
with Pumphrey right now.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. 4 of them are stuck here, Clement, Sproles, Adams, and I mean not Adams, Howard and Sanders. So if there was going to be a 5th guy, who do we want between Smallwood, Adams, and Pumphrey? Damn sure not Pumphrey because he'll get flattened. And I guess
Adams,
Adams promise because we know what Smallwood is. And if I have to look at him another year, I'll have to pitch myself off like the Walt Whitman. I gotta I guess Josh Adams, but there's no point for 5 running backs is my point.
Right. But I do think that's really the main takeaway from this entire game is that Wendell Smallwood ran the ball a lot last year. He played a lot of snaps last year.
Had to,
right? Once was it? Well, I don't know when Jay Ajayi went down. I don't even know when that was anymore. It's all a blur. But once, yeah, it was not long. I love Jay Ajayi. But what?
It's Josh that led the team in yards last year.
Josh Adams, 533, leading rusher.
That's what I'm saying though. Is that's not. Miles Sanders and Jordan Howard are so much better.
Yep.
That's so much closer to LeGarrette Blount, Jay Ajayi than it was whatever the
Thunder and Lightning
we put up last year. Hopefully, and now it's exciting. Is the point? It's good. It's so much better. Running backs, man, it's a tough life.
You peak in your first 4 seasons, and then that's it.
Then bang, injured, done.
Bang, off the shelf.
Here's a takeaway and kind of a question to you guys. During the pregame, they showed Carson Wentz and Nick Foles and Zach Ertz all just kind of emerging and interacting. What was your kind of takeaway with that? I had mixed emotions with that. And I'm not going to lie. A little piece of me was man, fuck Nick Foles. I was like,
I'm not saying all that.
That made me feel bad.
This is wild.
What are you drinking tonight, bro? You want some?
He's on fatherhood right now. He hasn't slept in 3 days. Forgive the man.
I went 0 to 100. Went from I love Nick Foles. I have no ill to Nick Foles. I'm glad he got his money. I'm glad he got the starting.
It sounds like some ill.
Maybe. I don't know. Maybe.
Listen. There's a week-old baby in Chris's house.
That newborn got.
He hasn't slept a wink.
That shirt dope though. All right.
He hates Nick Foles and he loves
a newborn. Hate Nick Foles, man. That's what we're doing.
No, honestly, my thought immediately was why am I listening to these old dudes talk about? What were they? They were talking about Mr. Magoo for 5 minutes. I was like, give me Carson and Nick in the commentary booth, and let's just roll. Why not? Who cares? It's a preseason. Everybody has it on mute anyway. I was like, let me get that. Except then I was then I was thinking about it too much, and I was like, can't have Nick and just Carson. That would be a very bland. You got to have Deshaun in there or something. Mix it up a little bit,
add some color, add some.
Yeah, why not? I mean, Nick and Carson at a certain point are the same dude, so I was like, at least let me get somebody more interesting.
Carson and stuff are all the same person. All of them, all 3 of them.
So Victor, you talked to a Jaguars beat writer. What's kind of the Jacksonville Jaguars take on Nick Foles? What do they expect, and what are their kind of projections for this year?
All right. So after speaking with Philip Hallman of The Athletic yesterday, he's the beat writer for Jacksonville, and I wanted to get his take on, because we haven't really heard too much of what Jacksonville thinks of Nick Foles, like you mentioned. So the water right now is like lukewarm on Nick Foles. Some people say they overpaid, and not a lot of people are expecting a Super Bowl run, because common sense tells you Nick Foles isn't going to be magical for 16 games a season. And once they do, we obviously all assume they'll make it to the playoffs. And we've been saying I have at least been saying that the Jaguars have been just a QB away from being decent for a little while now. So now that Fournette apparently has his head on straight after he was going through whatever he was going through, and for the time being, their only real receiver is kind of Dede Westbrook at this point. So it's just a matter of, can Nick Foles put it together for 16 games? They're expecting a playoff berth over there, but they're not like they don't expect Super Bowl contention by any means.
Did he talk a little bit about adopting the same kind of offensive sets that the Eagles ran with Nick Foles? Like, what's their how are they going to implement Nick Foles there?
It sounds like the main plan is to have Nick Foles just take pressure off Leonard Fournette, because they were having a lot of stacked, Fournette was facing a lot of stacked boxes with quarterbacks such as Blake Bortles and the now famous Cody Kessler. So he was so I think that they're happy that they have a competent quarterback in there that can take the pressure off Leonard Fournette. It sounds like the primary focus will still be built around Leonard Fournette, and Nick Foles will kind of be more of a manager rather than the QB that's gonna set the world on fire. Like I said, I don't even know who their tight end is over there. And Dede Westbrook, they expect a 1,000-yard season out of Dede Westbrook, and they have Chris Conley over there from Kansas City who got lost in the shuffle. Maybe he'll make some noise, but Leonard Fournette is still the focus of that offense, regardless if he's mad at the coaches or whatever he goes through. Hopefully, he stays out of Tom Coughlin's hair, but we'll see. But Leonard Fournette is the focus at this point.
Ray Didinger.
I think their tight end is Austin Stephon Jenkins.
What was that? Safarian Jenkins? Oh, yeah, you might be right. Yeah.
Because the old Jets tight end. I think.
Yeah.
Can I ask a question?
Yeah.
Where did we just start talking about like Jaguars thinking about Super Bowl contention from? Like,
because
where did that come from? Like,
because this is what it is. So 2 seasons ago, they made the AFC Championship game,
and
might have made the Super Bowl if they had a quarterback better than Blake Bortles. Obviously, they fell off last season, but that was due to more so, Blake Bortles being even worse and Leonard Fournette going through his issues, and Marquise Lee got hurt and all those things. So it was just a bad season for them. I think they feel like with a quarterback they can get back to AFC contention. I think they feel like with Nick Foles they can get back to that, just based on 2 seasons ago, not more so last season.
But Okay. I didn't know they thought that. I mean, maybe.
They're not running around screaming Super Bowl by it, but they're confident.
That's all I'm saying. I was just sort of like, why are we?
They're not
favorites.
Talking about a
Jags Super Bowl right now.
The Jags fan base is a lot more fair weather than ours is. So.
Hey, good for them. They got much more fair weather.
Talk all about how Malik Jackson's absence from Jacksonville affected their defense at all. Now in Philadelphia, obviously.
Yeah. So Malik Jackson actually fell out of favor with the fans. So he wasn't, for whatever reason, the fans were not really happy to see him go, but he didn't live up to that contract over there. So once he signed over here, they were kind of like, all right, let's clean the slate. And same deal with Jonathan Cyprien when he left. It's kind of the same situation there. So obviously, remember when the contract came out and we thought it was 3 years, $10 million, and everybody was like, yo, we got to steal. and then it ended up being 3 years and $30 million. So obviously we expect big contributions with him, with Cox and Jernigan sticking around, to everybody's surprise. So the fans weren't too keen on Malik Jackson. He didn't produce up to his contract, so they weren't too upset when he left.
So we have 2 tight ends, Zach Ertz, Dallas Goedert. We're very spoiled. When was the last time the Jacksonville Jaguars had a tight end to get 100 yards or more in a game? Does anyone get
more in a game? Do you know the answer? Or
right? Okay.
A Jaguars tight end. Let me think of a Jaguars tight end because I don't even know any.
Yeah, I don't know.
It's
2002.
It's been 5
Is it recent?
years. It's been 5
years.
years.
2002 is crazy talk. That's 17 years ago. Believe that or not.
Jaguars tight end off the top of my head. So
I can't even think of any of their tight ends.
2014. I was gonna say
wow.
I don't even know their tight ends. I can't even pretend like I know.
I was gonna say 2013. I went too far back.
The way Chris was leading up, I was expecting a ridiculous answer. So I just
17 years. 100 in a game is not like a, it's not the craziest thing.
They have no receivers, so they got to start.
It's not well, it's 100. Yeah, somebody's got to get some yards. That's crazy. That's
Yeah,
crazy. 5 years.
It's bad. So real quick, before like this wraps up and all, and it was like super heated between like our group today about the McNabb and like Carson Wentz thing. So like and I don't mean to make this like a debate, but is Carson Wentz how do I word it? Is Carson Wentz better than McNabb ever was right now in his career?
Better than he ever was? No.
Like, what was the argument, Chris? Because you were in there more than I was. I was at work when it was going on, so like I don't know if you.
I was sitting in the parking lot at the bank, and I just could not leave because it was moving so.
It was like 500 messages when I looked up. I said, "What the?"
The argument was, you're the Eagles. I think you take a quarterback in your prime, 1 through 4. It's McNabb, Wentz, Cunningham, and Foles. Who are you taking 1 through 4?
Yeah, that was one of them.
And
who'd you take 1?
Yeah, like who would you take 1, 2, 3?
I think
like pretty much just rank.
I'll take a Wentz over all of them, all through.
You said you take which?
I'm taking Wentz. Well, because I didn't see Randall play like that, so I can't really act like I'm educated on Randall. Because
okay, fair enough. So you can take that out, and between the 3, yeah. I mean,
in between the 3, I'm taking Wentz, yeah, because McNabb, it's well documented, like McNabb's shortcomings.
Right, but like, okay, so what if
are we doing success or are we doing skill set?
If Wentz is never better than he is right now, skill set, because success doesn't. I mean, you know, Wentz, like Teddy
way more talented than McNabb ever was. Wentz definitely.
Okay.
I feel like, Wentz's arm power feels a little bit better. I mean, I gotta see his ability to break down a defense. I mean, that's something that comes with age. That's probably the most important.
But Carson,
quarterback can have.
Carson surveys the field way better than McNabb ever did, in my opinion.
Not even close.
He goes through his progressions like a. McNabb never went through his progressions. He went through his progression, and his next step was throw at James Thrash's feet. So,
or throw it directly into the ground. So
yeah, literally at the knees. So I don't want to. I mean, we can make the argument that McNabb never had receivers until we saw what happened when he did get a good one and they went to the Super Bowl. We can throw in the Reggie Browns and the Kevin Curtises and the whoever else you want to name. But McNabb just didn't have the weapons. But even he didn't help them out either. So it's just a matter of Pinkston is the worst and
I think it's pretty clear to me, at least, that like Eagles fans just don't like him that much. Like it's just pretty clear, right? Like he's just not. So right now, like Wentz is going to get picked over him by like the majority of people.
I mean, if we gotta like from a football standpoint, Wentz is better than McNabb.
Right, but I also think that the way we see McNabb is so shrouded sometimes because like in 10 years, if Carson Wentz never makes another NFC Championship game, and like he's hurt all the time, and when he's healthy, he's not producing, like people are gonna say McNabb every single time. If he makes 10 NFC Championship games, then people are gonna say he's the best in franchise. You know what I mean? Like it's too current for me, I think, for us to have a clear debate on it. Because like Wentz is the dude right now, and like everyone wants him to be really good. So I do think that like. Risky click. I do think Wentz is pretty overrated by Eagles fans while still being really good.
I'm not doing this tonight.
I'm not saying he's like not a good quarterback, but like
he's only
Eagles fans on Twitter will say he's better than Mahomes.
How is he overrated though? Like based on his contract, or was he overrated?
No, just by Eagles fans, because Eagles fans think he's like walking into MVP candidacy. Like
yeah, why wouldn't he? So why wouldn't you believe that though?
Because like.
He's coming off a broken back and a torn ACL.
That ain't his fault.
And now, and like,
he's not even coming off ACL anymore. He's not even coming off an ACL anymore. 2 years ago. So
yeah, just a back injury. And like,
yeah, that ain't his fault.
And like now he's got to deal with Pat Mahomes just won the MVP.
Wentz was Mahomes before Mahomes got here. So I don't hear that either.
But now Mahomes is here, is what I'm saying. Like, so all of the and like, don't get me wrong. I think part of it comes from like the constant Dak Wentz debate, and Wentz is so much better than Dak that it's absurd. Right? It's not a debate at all. But I think people take that and like they just blow it up too far to like Wentz is the best quarterback of the league. It's like the best young one, maybe.
I think he's
Philly. I think he's underrated outside of.
I think he's
underrated outside of Philly, but inside of Philly,
ain't no overrated.
My thing is he has the tangibles to be it. I'm not saying he is, but everybody automatically assumes everything that he's good at, he's going to be very, very good at next year.
And he's going to get better at everything else he's better. It's just that, like, he gets credit for things he hasn't done yet. which is fine.
This is the thing. People don't want to knock Carson Wentz because it's been so long since we had QB stability. So now that we finally have it, the last thing people want to do is knock against Carson Wentz because people are basing Carson Wentz on the future. They're basing on Carson Wentz on what he can be, and we're so fearful that he won't turn out to be that we become self-defensive. That's where all the crazy takes come from. So
sure, and I'm with that, but that like if everyone's popping off crazy takes, how does that not make him
mostly out of fear,
overrated?
Out of fear of him
right?
not becoming that, and you have to just use your imagination at that point. Like you have to use use potential and measure it in that regard. That's why people,
I'm with that, but we don't measure we measure his potential against what other players are, right? Like when we talk about like golf,
Mahomes is better
right? So, like golf sucks, sure. Like
so
I don't
are Wentz and Mahomes not on the same tier?
Yes.
I gotta say Mahomes.
I mean,
Mahomes is really good.
You better know. You better know.
Mahomes is real. You're trying to get me in trouble here.
Mahomes 1 year, bro. 1 good year. People
one very good year.
Mahomes had 1 year.
He's had 1 good year.
Carson Wentz. So that's not because Mahomes literally has played in this league.
I'm just playing devil's advocate here. Mahomes had 1 good year and he won the MVP.
I think
MVP candidate.
Like that. No.
Yeah, the general population would take Mahomes because it's recency bias. That's why they're taking Mahomes' recent MVP season over Carson's injury role. That's just recency bias at that point.
Around 5,000 passing yards and 50 passing touchdowns almost.
Give Carson Wentz, Travis Kelce, Tyreek Hill, and the rest, and he'll do the very same thing. So
he's gonna have his Alshon Jeffrey,
this will be his 50 touchdown year.
Like, come on.
All the chances next season to have a 50 touchdown year. So I guess we'll see at the end of the day. So which was worse? Back to the McNabb thing. Was McNabb?
Let me get out of here real quick
because I wanted to get the point out before I forget, but so is Carson Wentz's 2016 year with DGB and Bryce Treggs and those guys, was that worse than McNabb having the weapons of James Thrash and Todd Pinkston? Like, who has more of an excuse for a bad receiver?
Don't forget Torrance Small and like
That's a good question, though. That is it's a good question. It does you got to look at Ertz at a certain point, right? Like Ertz is just such a strong.
Okay, well, we have Chad Lewis, so it's the same thing.
I don't know.
Just Carson's such a better package than Donovan McNabb. Is McNabb more talented? Probably. No. I would say
no, he's not. No, he's not.
But Carson Wentz is just a better overall quarterback. Donovan McNabb did not control that locker room. Brian Dawkins, Jeremiah Trotter, all those guys. He did not control that locker room. Kind of exactly what Carson Wentz just oozes out of his body.
Didn't we just spend 4 months talking about how Carson Wentz's teammate that? I don't think that's a fair.
From the fans, that's from one dude writing an article. Now we're going to talk about how Carson Wentz isn't a leader. Is that what?
No. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying that to make the argument that McNabb can't hold the locker room together. There's no real is there real evidence that Carson can besides the fact that we like him?
Besides the fact that we like what?
But hear me out. What I'm saying is that besides the Bible study stuff, which fine, that counts. That definitely gets some work done. Carson just isn't this dude is definitely the guy that holds.
You don't think
no.
He has all the. This is going downhill. This is going downhill.
He he put out an apology, right?
Other players from other teams,
all go to tape, bro. All go to tape talking.
All right. I think we should save this for another pot.
Maybe. But just the point of that is just that, Carson apologized for the way he handles situations. That's fine. I'm not going to hold it against him. But I also am not going to, give him the credit of, being the complete perfect leader. And you know what I mean? As compared to this. He couldn't hold the locker room together. Then, you know what I mean? He might be better at it, but it's certainly not this is what should tip the scales. What should tip the scales is that he's a better quarterback. And
so for Carson,
you know what I mean?
I know Chris wants to get out of here, but for the last thing, so for us to be secure with Carson and for him not to be overrated, what's the one thing you have to see from him next season for you to be all right, he's worth the money?
Nothing from him, just for the people of Philadelphia to calm down a little bit sometimes.
And
I agree with you that you're right, that it comes from I don't want to say insecurity, but you fear that we went through that horrible quarterback cycle for so long of having trash and Mark Sanchez was starting games. Now that we have right. now that we have like a long-term great quarterback, we're like we need to keep him here. But like, I don't think he's like an overrated player. Like he's bad and he's not actually good. It's just like
that's what I'm going off.
I'm talking. The context is like he's not like the best quarterback in the league.
No.
Nobody's saying that. Nobody's saying that.
Oh,
who's saying that?
I agree that,
bro, you got to look at.
You would take Mahomes over Wentz in a heartbeat. I think that's pretty.
No. Okay. Well, I'd argue it.
I mean, if I was a neutral team, like by now, once you have a guy for a couple seasons,
it's recency bias, bro. It's all this.
Sort of like, would you rather have Kevin Durant or Embiid? Like, I'd rather have Embiid because he's our guy. Like, I'd rather have Carson than Mahomes. But if I was like a new team and I got to pick between one of them, like, yeah, you have to pick Mahomes, right?
Going back to Vic's question, the things I need to see from Wentz is that I need to see him throw the ball away. I need to see him live for the next day. I don't want to see him getting sandwiched between defenders trying to get an extra yard. I don't need to see him put his head down and try and get an extra yard.
Every play.
I don't know.
I need to see him learn to live for the next down. And I also need to see, if we're going to talk about McNabb threw a better deep ball than Carson Wentz. That is a fact. And I want to see him throw that deep ball. We got Deshaun Jackson, baby. Those are my top two things I want to see from Carson Wentz. Jack, go ahead, man.
My big thing that I want to see from Carson Wentz is just pretty much how you said, just staying healthy. Just do what he's doing. Just be healthy, and I think he'll be fine.
So y'all think he's injury prone? Like this argument is just gonna.
Nobody's saying he's injury prone. Like
Jack, he needs to stay healthy.
He just needs to stay healthy because he hasn't been able to the past 2 years. Like it's not whether you think he's injury prone or not. Like to me, that's all he needs to do because he's pretty much shown the rest. Like he just needs to put it together. I mean, he needs to prove the deep ball, but I don't know that I agree that he doesn't have a better deep ball. He hasn't really had like great downfield threats.
Bryce Craig's is the biggest downfield threat.
Every time we talk about it, I just think of him throwing off his back foot on the run against Seattle, like 50, 60 yards downfield. I mean, he's got a deep ball.
It's not accurate. He's got a deep ball. I'm not questioning the deep ball.
He can heave it. Can he heave it to the receiver?
I'll put it this way. What I want to see from Carson Wentz is I want to see him back up all the theoretical things we've been saying. Like,
it ain't theoretical.
Now that he has weapons, now that he has like really good weapons, he's had a great O-line. He has a great running back core. He has a great receiver core. Like, there's no excuses anymore. And I don't even really think he's been taking excuses, but I just want to see him back everything up. Like, show up, use the tools you have in front of you, take care of the game.
Is that a concern? Because I mean, think about this. Like everyone, especially local media, is expecting the Eagles offense to be top 3 in the NFL. Right from the get-go. We're not going to be playing. Our offensive line has not played at all this preseason. Carson Wentz will probably not at all this preseason. Is that a concern heading into week 1? I think they play the Redskins week 1. That they're going to be expected to completely wipe out the Washington Redskins.
They better.
Are you a little concerned about that?
No.
What I mean
about offensive line stability?
Go ahead, Vic. Vic, lead us off, man.
About offensive line stability, am I concerned about that?
Offensive, just starting off slow.
No continuity. No, not really. I think they'll get enough, with the practices, and I think they work on it enough in training camp. This starting lineup has played together for a little bit now. Barring the injuries with Brooks and the rest of them. I don't think they're gonna. I mean, it's week 1. Everybody will be rusty, but I don't think they're going to have any chemistry issues. They've been playing together long enough. I just want to see Carson, like, real quick. I just want to, for me, it's not about health. It's not about backing up theories. It's about, like, there's a part of my mind that wants to be, that doesn't want to worry, like, if the Cowboys somehow drive down and they score and Carson, has the ball at the last possession, I need to be confident that he'll go down to win the game for us. I'm like 80% there, but I need to see it from him. Granted, his MVP year, he was ahead so much that he didn't really have to prove that. But now I just it's not much a clutch argument per se. It's just I need to see you. I want to see you win the game with the game in your hands, and that's all I really need. I don't care about your health. I'm confident in your health. I'm confident in everything else. Just win the game for us when we need you to. Like the Titans game, he should have won. What was the other game that we lost? The Panthers game. No business losing that game. Like he needs to win games that he's supposed to win, and that's my big thing with Carson Wentz.
I think we're saying close to the same thing in terms of put it together, back up who we all know you are, get it done. But I do want to say that I think the thing is that like week 1 is basically the new preseason. Like all these teams are starting to pull their like, you know, undisputed starters in preseason because like nobody's trying to get hurt in preseason. So week 1 is preseason, but the other point is like the Redskins are like not like
scary
constructed as like a team. Like the offense, like by week 2, I think from like the 2 and then the next couple weeks, what you're saying of like the expectations of being an elite offense, like yeah, we can start talking about that. But like to beat the Redskins, you don't got to score like 45 points. Like
Dude.
You can probably go out of there with like,
yeah, man, this is fucking Philadelphia, dude. If the Eagles don't come out, you know,
drop 35 on their head.
You're right, but the thing is, everyone will forget about it.
The first quarter points, I think they had like 2 points in the first quarter last season.
Yeah, they were horrible in the first quarter last year.
They were. They started.
You know what? Like, if people are upset about the offense week 1, like they're gonna forget about it by Tuesday of the next week. Like the Philadelphia media cycle of like stirring up all these like. Everyone's either the best player in the league or the worst player in the league, and we're so mad about first. Like it's all gone by the Tuesday of the next week. Like it's all gone. So week 1, like you could probably win that game with like 17 points.
If Carson throws that pick first possession, I don't even want to be around.
Oh my god!
Philly
right.
Go ahead. Go ahead, Jack.
I think, well, the offensive line, I mean, they've been around for a couple of years. They're all NFL veterans. I don't really think they need the preseason experience. They know what to expect. They know to be ready. I'm not worried about that. Wentz, I think he'll just be a bit rusty to start, but I'd rather just take a rusty first half of a game Wentz over a injured, knocked up Wentz in a week 3 preseason game. So I mean, I think if any issues, they'll be solved very quickly.
And this is the core of my major takeaway from the game was Jordan Howard and Miles Sanders show me that they can carry the load, and that is so important. Like you said, Ben, going into week 1, week 2. Taking that extra pressure off of Carson Wentz, getting that offense in sync, selling that play action. You got to have a fucking run game. So that's where I'm going with that. We're going to wrap this up. Make sure you follow Eagles TPL on Twitter. For myself, I am Mr. Crockbot. You can call me Chris or World's Greatest Dad. It's up to you.
That newborn got you talking crazy, bro. I don't know.
I know.
I have a shirt, man. It's fat. It's fat.
You put that thing on, become a whole new person, bro.
Make sure you follow Jack on Twitter at JackConnellTPL. Any last comments, Jack?
I'm just ready for this regular season to start. I've had enough of preseason already.
Over this preseason bullshit.
Yeah, we've been here for like probably 40 minutes, and we've probably talked about preseason for like 15. Like,
yeah, before this started, we were like, we're gonna talk for like 10 minutes. That's all I got, and we out here arguing about Carson.
It's so burnt. Preseason is so done.
He is Ben Dunst. Follow him on Twitter at BP Dunst. Last comments, Ben. Go ahead.
Nah, I got nothing.
He's just trying to get that security deposit. That's all we worry about.
That's right. I'm gonna get it too.
And
believe that.
Vic runs the Philly Special Podcast on Twitter. You already follow it. I know it.
Let's do that one. That's the spot.
Make sure you follow Vic on Twitter at the Philly Special or at the Philly Pod. Last comments, Vic. Go ahead, man.
I just keep posting on the Philly Pod, all the interviews coming up, recaps and previews and Sixers and Eagles stuff all throughout. Sixers, I'm trying to keep up to date with all the Eagles content. I'm trying to sprinkle Sixers in there. A lot more interviews coming up. I got special something coming up soon to keep tabs on. So make sure you go do that. Support your boy on Patreon if you have $1. So everybody got $1. So digging your find it.
Get the deposit. I listen. You should too.
Yeah, Ben, when you get that deposit, we'll talk.
Great.
Yeah, I'm gonna hit you up. Don't worry.
Great podcast. My last plug will be for the Blue Route. Make sure you follow everything player development at Blue Route TPL. We have coach interviews coming next week. What up? Yeah.
Oh, you ain't tell us that. What is this?
Nope. Coming. I'll wait to reveal that next week. For me, Chris, for Jack, for Ben, for Victor. Thanks for watching, guys. Go Birds, baby.
Sixers win it! Wow! Oh, man, Embiid just posterized Russell Westbrook